Apple co-founder Steve Jobs once said, "The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation that is to come." No one can really dictate what the future of media will look like. But if you want any indication, it's worth noting that programmers and marketers will be able to reach consumers directly, while viewers will be able to control far more than just a remote control. Today, storytelling has clearly shifted to video on the internet. And when it comes to video storytelling, despite having a lot of powerful challengers, the battle is being fought between two companies, Netflix and YouTube. Each one has a very distinctive approach. YouTube's strategy and tactics can be rooted to the origins of their parent, Google. And Google's own success is the ultimate trajectory and outcome of a perfect storm in which it created the world's most successful advertising company. Netflix, on the other hand, was always an outsider, almost to the point of ridicule. In fact, in 2010, Time Warner CEO once said, "Netflix's future is very much like the Albanian army taking over the world, highly unlikely." But if you fast forward to today, Netflix is far more valuable than Time Warner and most other media companies. Online, you could break up the landscape into 3 C's: content, commerce, and community. And when it comes to content, there's really 3 constituencies to take into consideration. 1, the viewers. 2, the advertisers that fund the ecosystem directly or indirectly. And 3, the distributors who license programming for their platforms. The reality is each one of these constituents wants very different things. Viewers generally like things that are kind of racy: sports, sex, violence. These things have a lot of deep engagement and fall under the entertainment umbrella. You sometimes also have viewers that are just chasing for quick hit information regarding something that they want. A recipe, what the weather's like in a given city that they're traveling to. Those things have far lesser engagement. And if you can imagine, that creates a little bit of a problem because the common area between what viewers, distributors, and marketers want is actually really, really small. Marketers want things that are sexy. Marketers want things that are popular, but marketers don't necessarily want things that are too racy. Meanwhile, viewers tend to be drawn towards things that are racy and a bit taboo even. And then finally, the distribution companies have a bit of a schizophrenic tendency in that they want things that they want to associate themselves with that are popular franchises, but those things tend to actually be kind of edgy and scare off some advertisers. So when it comes to content, it's also worth noting that there are fundamentally 4 different types or buckets of content. You got text, basically articles. You got image galleries. You have audio, increasingly podcasts are popular. And then finally, video. And we're really going to focus a lot more on video in this video, fittingly. As YouTube tops 1 billion hours of video consumed per day, it's on pace to replace television as the leading consumption platform. And when it comes to consumption patterns, YouTube is leading the charge, changing the old way of consuming content, which is going on websites and reading and watching videos, versus watching and consuming content on platforms such as YouTube, but also Netflix. And in terms of content discovery, there's also been a significant change where people have gone from searching for something and then stumbling across the piece of content to social, where you might watch something and share it with friends. And YouTube is not just a video platform, it's fundamentally a social platform where people's interests bring them together. Unless you've been living in a cave, you've probably noticed that the world is being fragmented into 2, and that's being manifested in many ways. English speaking versus non-English speaking, the US versus the rest of the world. And when it comes to the world of media, there are clearly 2 different visions of what the future looks like. What does that mean exactly? Well, on the one side, you got YouTube, with its parent Google, which basically commandeers a vision of the world where everything is ad-supported. In fact, with 1.8 billion users, if YouTube were a country, it would be the most populous one ahead of China and India. Then on the other side, you got Netflix. Netflix has 140 million paying consumers. That would make it the 9th largest populous country in the world. These are 2 different formidable beasts that are pushing for a very different future. Unless you've been in a coma, you've probably heard the so-called death of the 30-second TV spot. And the reason for that is rather ironic. The entire purpose of a television ad is that it's disruptive, is that it intervenes what it is that you are watching. But for that very same reason, people are saying that its time is doomed. I consider YouTube to be a truly revolutionary platform, whereas Netflix is more evolutionary. Now let me explain. YouTube has changed the definition of what quality is. It has changed the length of time that consumers will sit through a video. But the main reason why YouTube is truly revolutionary boils down to 2 words. Care to guess what those 2 words are? Go on, look at that screen. what do you see? YouTube's TrueView platform, which basically allowed consumers to skip ads, is truly revolutionary. What YouTube has done is given consumers more power than they've ever had. Consumers no longer just control what they want to watch in terms of programming and shows, they also start to control what ads they want to sit through. Just think about that for a second. Consumers today can determine which commercial message they will sit through, whereas previous generations were bombarded with messages from corporations. So this is why many are putting an extra premium on the power of storytelling. You see, it all comes full circle. Clutter and fragmentation on both the content production and the distribution side are making attention and time more valuable than ever. So the key to success is actually being able not just to create effective shows and programs, be it feature films or TV shows, but also ads that people want to watch. Now, Netflix is revolutionary in some ways, but it's really more of an evolutionary platform. What Netflix has mastered is basically convenience. It's changed the user experience, but it's fundamentally taking shows in a similar format and style that we've come to expect from television and theatrical releases and simply given you the remote control and said you choose what you want to watch when you want to watch it. That's a very nice change, but it's really more evolutionary than revolutionary. But if you take a step back and see YouTube basically making the world's information and entertainment available for free, supported by an ecosystem of advertising, whereas Netflix is charging ahead with a world where there's pretty much no advertising, at least until now, but it's funded by subscription, the question is there room for both? Now, in North America and other wealthy nations in Europe and elsewhere, there's always this talk about how, oh my God, for the convenience and benefit of not having to sit through ads, I'm willing to pay $5, $10, $20 and basically skip ads. And I think there's merit in that. In fact, Netflix has proven that people will pay content, as have Spotify and many others. When we look at battlegrounds, in this case the future of media, it's really tempting to want to pick one winner who takes it all. But the reality is, it's a big world out there. To start off with, even in wealthy nations like the US and the UK and Canada, there are people who can't pay $5 to $10 for gas or groceries and who are struggling paycheck to paycheck. So even in developed nations, there will always be room for ad-supported models. And the reality is, if you're going to be building a business in the 21st century relying on the internet, then you're probably building a global business. And that means there are many, many more emerging nations, whether in Latin America, in Asia, or in Africa, where this concept that consumers are going to want to take out $5, $10, $15 and pay for the luxury to skip ads is pretty much foolish at best and frankly ethnocentric at worst. So if you want the honest answer, the future of media is one where there will be this huge pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for ad-supported models, as much as there will be another pot of gold for subscription-based ones.